Hey everyone, welcome back to round 19 of Inside the Clinch. My name is Eric, and this week we are joined by Pulat. We have a lot of interesting stuff to go over this week, but let's start off with some really interesting news. Khamzat Chimayev announces that he's coming back. Surprise, surprise, he said, I'm coming to smash everybody. So, dude, I know Johnny and I are both huge fans of Khamzat. What's your opinion on the guy?
I'm a fan of his fighting style, but I think the whole little retirement comeback was a little dramatic.
I agree,
Yeah,
yeah.
you had Corona, bro. Relax, take some time off. You come back, you fight. It's not like he's this big superstar where he has to announce his retirement and come back. But I'm excited to see that he'll be back fighting.
Yeah, apparently I heard that he had some kind of like lung issues, like way before COVID. Like growing up, he had some kind of lung just issues in general. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they're definitely saying that plays a big role in probably why he got it
Yeah,
worse than some other people.
I'm sure, but like Dana said, if you're gonna be on those medications while you have Corona, you probably shouldn't train like a fucking animal. But that's what he does.
Those people are built different, man.
Yeah, that's why we love him, though, right?
Absolutely. So this weekend was a interesting main event to say the least. Derek Brunson versus Kevin Hollland. That fight, there was, it was a pretty one-sided performance by Brunson. Was able to take Kevin Hollland down pretty much whenever he wanted. Was able to keep the fight in the ground and pound. Elbows. Pretty much did whatever he wanted, and Hollland couldn't do much other than just talk shit. Pretty much.
Talk.
That's it. What was your opinion on the fights?
Pretty much same thing. I mean, I was riding the Holland hype train.
Same
So
here.
after that 2025 and 0, I thought he was going to come in and starch him. Um, but I don't know. Brunson looked heavier. Like he looked to. I'm interested to see if Holland goes down to 170, how he looked over there. He looked like he had a very hard time getting up when Brunson would be just. And Brunson wasn't doing like crazy ground and pounder. It's not like Khabib style where
Yeah.
he'll just constantly advancing position. He was basically just laying on him for 5 rounds.
I feel like the later it got into the fight, the less he even tried to get up. Like in the beginning, he had that body triangle. I thought he was trying to like secure a submission or something, but he was kind of just holding him in place, which I guess is kind of an okay game plan so that Derek Brunson doesn't posture up and start landing heavy blows. But at the same time, 5 rounds of the same stuff, you got to realize you're in this position, you can't get out. You got to do something to get out of there. And I was pretty surprised at the lack of urgency from Holland. He really didn't seem like he cared. I thought he was trying to talk shit, get under his skin, get into his head, and then in the later rounds maybe come out with something, when Brunson is already tired and just fatigued overall mentally and physically. But I mean, Brunson held in there. He got his work done. He's calling out Paulo Costa next.
It's an interesting fight. I think Casa, I give him the edge over there. Um, Brunson usually loses to the top of the division. He's a good like a gatekeeper, I'd say. Like you put the prospects against him. He had that win over Shabazian also, who they hyped up to be a good prospect. Um, but I think I'd give the edge to Costa if that fight were to go down. Should be interesting though.
If you asked me prior to this fight with Holland, I probably would have been rooting for Holland. But I don't know. I was very surprised at just his overall, just the way he carried himself through the fight. Like I said, there was no lack of urgency to win, even when he was clearly losing. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. You did mention you wanted to see how he would look at 170. I think that would be, a good idea. He weighed in only at 183. So I'm assuming that was his walk around weight. He didn't even cut anything. So, the cut down to 170 wouldn't be that bad. And apparently he was originally trying to fight at 170. So that was his original plan.
So before the UFC, I know he fought at 170. I think he actually has a win over Jeff Neal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he does. Yep.
Who's a highly ranked guy, 170. So if he gets, I saw him say in interview with Rogan, if he gets the proper nutritionist, he can make the weight.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he at least learned a lesson to take all this seriously because, like I said, it was too much clowning and Kevin Hollland was known as the big mouth, the guy that's talking shit, but up until this point, he always backed it up. He got the finish. He was, like you said, 5-0 was an amazing 2020 for him. And then we come here where he literally does nothing but talk for 5 rounds, which is just pathetic to say the least.
I think when he knocked out Jacare and he was talking, and I think he fell into that too much. I feel like he forced himself to talk more than he actually wanted to, and he was kind of riding his own hype train. and when you don't take it seriously, that's what happens.
Dana White said that he thinks that Holland broke mentally. Like, I guess he had a, I don't know, anxiety attack or whatever. He broke mentally. Do you think that was the case? Because I don't think I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think he broke. I think Dana broke mentally from watching the fight. I mean,
For
I don't know
sure.
if you're watching Khabib's live stream, but Dana's like, "Yo, I gotta go. I can't watch any more of this shit." And he left.
Yo, Khabib was streaming like half an hour of the event right next to Dana. Pretty much the whole main event.
Yeah, you want to catch your illegal streamers? There you go.
Dana found his guy. All right, so one more piece that I wanted to touch on from this event. So prior to the start of the event, Julia Stolarenko, so she collapsed during the weigh-ins actually twice. So this was a video that went viral last week. She got up on the scale. She actually collapsed. Few hours later, sometime later,
It was right after.
yeah, they let her get on the scale, a second time, and the second time she got on the scale, she collapsed again. It was a really scary sight to see. Obviously a bunch of people came to get together to help her to get her to the ER or whatever it was to get her hydrated properly. But she said surprisingly it wasn't the weight cut that caused her to collapse. She said that she thinks first of all, that she dropped the weight too fast and she got on weight too early and had to maintain that weight. And, for the athletes, they know that maintaining the weight is harder than actually cutting it, especially because like that's pretty much your lowest point as far as dehydration and everything. Like you're completely depleted to get yourself down to that weight. So you pretty much want to get to that point and rehydrate, replenish everything, before fight day. So, she's blaming it. I guess it was too dramatic of a weight cut. She actually said this was her easiest weight cut overall in her career, which is a bit, funny, I guess, to say, but she is doing okay. I think they are trying to reschedule the fight. So hopefully she has better luck cutting weight this time around and hopefully considers moving up.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a video that Tyler Minton put out, and he's a nutritionist. He used to work with George Lockhart, and he did weight cuts for like Cormier and Max Holloway before and stuff like that. And he put out a video where he's like, it's really not that serious what happened. It happens all the time in like just the back when they're cutting weight. So they get these like a flash faint, I guess, where they faint and they come back real quick. And it's just part of your body like reacting to it. But he's like, as long as she doesn't hit her head, he doesn't find it anything serious. He said the fight probably could have went on, but he understands why it was canceled, and it's a bad look. But
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
I wouldn't feel comfortable, being the UFC, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting that fight on because
Sure.
it wasn't just one time she fainted; it was twice within a matter of moments. So you definitely don't want to put someone into the ring, and God forbid something else happens and it's on your hands.
What do you think of weight cutting in general?
I don't like it. I mean, when I was younger, when we did judo, I really didn't cut weight until the very end of my career, and even then, it was like 3 or 4 pounds. So I never really had like a huge weight cut. I understand why everyone does it, especially in MMA. It's the same reason, the same, I guess, excuse for steroids. If someone is doing it, everyone has to do it in order for it to be a level playing field. You know what I mean? So for the weight cutting, you can't, if you're just going to go in at your own weight, you're going to be relatively smaller than everyone in the division. I mean, if everyone starts, going at the weight they walk around, everything would be a lot more fair. I think one championship does this like hydration test where they can't lose like more than 10% of their body weight. I don't know how that's enforced. I think it's a hydration test, but I mean, if they can do that, more across the board against other organizations, I think it'll be a lot safer for the fighters.
Yeah, I think some weight cutting is kind of healthy.
Pounds. Yeah.
Mainly because of the discipline. Like I see a lot of times when fighters have too much room, they don't take the training as seriously. They don't do the runs and the sprints and the sauna. That's all built discipline, and I feel like a little bit of that is necessary, especially at the highest level.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like we've seen it time and time again. Like fights have gotten canceled last minute. People have to cough up like 30% of their purse for missing weight, and there's too many problems, I guess, that for a problem that could be dealt with. I feel like if they kind of lock everyone in certain weight classes based on where they are, I guess, out of camp, like, where their walk around weight is, I feel like that would be a lot more fair just because, you're putting everyone at risk and in the terms of, the organization, you're basically throwing out a fight that they've been spending money to book on you guys, on media, on promoting and all that stuff. So, I mean, coming from my point of view, I wish we didn't have much weight cutting. Like you said, just a few pounds here and there for the discipline. I definitely agree with that. But overall,
no extreme weight cutting.
100%, yeah. Yoel Romero used to like squeeze himself out like a raisin. He would be like literally dying his last few fights in the UFC just to make 185. Like it was insane.
Anthony Johnson made 170.
That's insane. I don't
170.
believe it, man. If you look at him today, I don't know how, man. It's insane. He's a huge motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right, so one more bit of news. Gordon Ryan is signed with one championship. This is pretty exciting news. Gordon Ryan has been in the news, a bunch of times lately. Most recently, there was a dispute with him and another fighter during his Jiu-Jitsu World Championships. I guess someone had the camera rolling. There was a little bit of shit talking back and forth, and Gordon Ryan just came up and slapped that guy.
Yeah.
The guy did nothing, literally just stood there and kind of took it.
He took it.
Yeah, which was pretty crazy.
And that guy, I think Galavo, if I'm not mistaken, was his last name.
I think that is him. Yeah,
he's a high-ranking guy in that world also.
He actually came, I don't know if it was before or after the original video, but there was a video when Gordon Ryan was doing an interview and that guy came up to him and just started talking mad shit. And there was like a whole scene over there. A bunch of fighters got involved. Everyone was like keeping them apart. I don't know. It was, I don't know. The guy has a lot of good potential. He's signed with one, so they have a lot more of the lighter weight athletes, I feel like, compared to like Bellator and UFC, who kind of have more of heavier athletes, I feel like, in general on their roster. I don't know. One championship is a great place to start, but you can't take it lightly. They have some savages there.
But I also read today that he said at the moment, because he signed a contract where it's an MMA and grappling, so they have like a submission kind of fighting. And he says right now he's focused more on the grappling. But if he was to compete in MMA, it'd be under one championship. But he hasn't fully committed to the MMA aspect yet.
I mean, look, I think he's in his early 30s, if I'm not mistaken. So if he does make the switch at any point in his career, it should be sometime soon, I feel like, before, he's falling off of his physical peak. Yeah. The guy has a lot of potential. He's a jiu-jitsu savage. Like, the guy is just a monster. I don't know what kind of striking background he has, but, as long as he can develop some sort of at least defense to not get hit and take the fight to the ground, he definitely has a lot of potential in this sport.
Yeah, similar to Damian Maia. The way he just takes fighters down and works from there. But he has to have good defense and good wrestling offense to initiate his grappling.
If they're paying him the same amount to wrestle and to grapple instead of to fight, I mean, I don't blame him for going the wrestling route.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so this weekend we have UFC 260, headlined by Stipe versus Francis 2, the rematch. Francis Ngannou has gone all the way through the heavyweight rankings. He lost to Stipe a couple of years ago in his first attempt at a title shot. Had to go all the way through the rankings again, pretty much knocking everyone out within seconds. It's pretty much hard to deny this man a title shot. I mean, if not the title, who else does he have left to fight? You know what I mean?
It's hard to deny him a title shot, but it's also hard to call him the better fighter because we've seen so little of him when he was actually in the cage. He knocked out Rosenstrike, but that striking was some of the sloppiest striking I've ever seen in my life.
I agree with you. He kind of just bum rushed him and just relied on his power. I think he was able to do that because of how he was bigger than Rosenstrike, but I don't think he's gonna be able to do the same thing with Stipe. That being said, though, Stipe has been through a few wars since he fought Francis the first time. He had 3 fights with DC, and not that DC's the best striker, but he does hit pretty hard, and he did knock Stipe out the first time around. I don't know. I'm kind of cheering for Francis on this one. I've been a huge Francis fan since he joined the UFC. The guy's just a monster, and I've been saying it for the longest time. If he can get his hands on the belt, he's gonna hold that shit down for a long time. I don't think anyone's gonna take it away from him for a while. With the exception, I guess, of John Jones now that he's in the division. That would be the only
I mean, that's the next fight.
That is the next fight for whoever wins this.
That's the next fight.
But yeah, I don't know who do you have on this one. I'm hoping Francis. I don't know who's gonna win, but I'm hoping Francis.
Like, I hope Francis not because I think he's a better fighter, because overall I think Stipe is a better fighter. But as a fan of the sport, when the heavyweight title's on the line, I'm interested. And Stipe just hasn't been fighting as often, and he's more towards the end of his career already. Fights once a year maybe. Francis, I feel like, would be more active, entertaining, and Francis against John Jones is take my money.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, for those that missed it, when Miocic faced Ngannou the first time, he was surprisingly able to take a lot of the big shots that Francis hit him with, but his key to victory was the wrestling. He was able to take Francis down and impose the ground and pound. Francis is, he's a very, very dominant striker, but he unfortunately doesn't have too much of an IQ on the ground. If I was Francis, man, I would forget training boxing and only train jiu-jitsu and wrestling because like his hands are powerful. It's his striking isn't the issue. You know what I mean? It's all his grappling. There aren't really any. I don't think there's anyone in heavyweight across any organization that can confidently stand there and strike with Francis. But if they're able to take him down, then he can't really do much. So I feel like he needs to polish those areas up, at least the takedown defense and scrambling. But if he can keep this fight standing up, I really think he can knock out Stipe.
I mean,
We've seen DC do it, and I don't think DC has nearly as much power as Francis does.
and also Francis recently fought Curtis Blades again, and Curtis Blades is probably the best wrestler in the division, and he got a job done against him the second time as well. So he's improving. So there's only one way to find out this Saturday.
The guy's a stud. He's such a nice guy too. So he's just a really likable guy. I don't know if you heard his podcast with Rogan. His story was just phenomenal. Like,
Yeah,
it's
how he
crazy.
like escaped Africa to come.
Straight blood diamond.
Yeah, that's crazy shit.
So on the co-main event, we have Vicente Luque versus Tyrone Woodley. Woodley coming back. This could be a make it or break it for him. He's on a 3-fight losing skid. Vicente Luque is coming off of 2 wins, coming off his loss to Stephen Thompson. So this is pretty interesting fight. Vicente Luque is that rising star trying to make his run up to the title. He was doing very well until he got stopped by until he lost a decision to Wonder Boy, excuse me. But Woodley, he really needs to show whether or not he wants to continue fighting or not in this fight, I feel like.
If he loses this fight, I think it's time to hang him up.
I agree.
I'm rooting for him because I don't want to see people go out like that, especially, he's been a long reigning champion at 170 and put a lot of work, fought a lot of people. So it'd be nice to see him on a high. I really think he has more in the tank. I just feel like he's in his own head, thinking too much and not reacting, not pulling the trigger. When he pulls the trigger, he's a monster.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, look, he's like you said, he was a champ for a long time. He's done a lot in the sport. He hasn't been the most entertaining fighter, especially during his title reign. But the guy is a good fighter, and he's been in a lot of high level fights where he had to fight strategically more than just explosively. That being said, I do agree he's like on the latter half of his career. And one thing I've just noticed over the last couple of fights of his, it looks like he tries to just land that one overhand. And as soon as he realizes he can't, like he kind of just panics and his game plan goes out the window. And like it looks like he doesn't really know what to do. I feel like ever since I think Till was his last good performance, I feel like after that, everything was
yeah,
kind of really hesitant. And like, I don't know if it's confidence. I do know he was, pursuing a rap career, a movie career. So I don't know how much of that, took him out of the gym and influenced his training and impacted his training. Personally, I hate when the active fighters get involved with movie deals and rapping deals and like all that kind of stuff because it just takes away your attention from the sport and the training. So I'm sure that had a part to do with it as well.
but also he fought 3 killers:
Yeah, yeah,
Usman, Burns, and Covington.
but I
Are
feel like
probably the best 3
he
in the
was
division.
yeah, they are the best in the division. I just felt like Woodley wasn't Woodley. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Aside from who was across from him in the octagon, he just didn't look like the same Woodley. Like if you look at the Woodley that fought Robbie Lawler, that fought Darren Till, like that was a different Woodley. That was a confident Woodley.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think this whole tarnishes legacy in a way. These 3 losses in a row, because he was talking about welterweight goat, greatest fighter since GSP, and it's like,
Not anymore.
nah, bro, sorry. I mean, Usman is making a strong case.
Yeah, he's gonna have to win a few more fights, but he's definitely running GSP for his money.
Yeah,
So
for
who do you
sure.
got for this one?
I think Woodley pulls it out.
Yeah,
I haven't been hearing that much, but I have a feeling he pulls out a decision.
that's a good point, actually. I actually haven't heard anything from Woodley for a long time, so hopefully that means he's back in the gym. Usually he's pretty vocal. But coming up even up through his last few fights during fight week, he was doing media for like other events and stuff. Like we actually haven't heard from Woodley, surprisingly. But that being said, I hope Luque wins. I haven't been the biggest fan of Woodley on a personal level. He's not a very appealing, I guess, person to me outside of the octagon. Luque he's a pretty nice guy. He's a pretty funny guy. And like I said, he's one of those rising stars that he's really tough, and he definitely has some areas he needs to improve on before he can get a title shot. I feel like we saw that a lot of that exposed in the Wonder Boy fight. But I think if he comes in with the right game plan, I think he can take apart Woodley. Like I said, it's all going to determine on how it's all going to depend on what Woodley's mindset is going into this fight, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, Luque has a little bit of a bonus. He has Gilbert Burns in his training camp. So there's the blueprint right there. So we'll see what happens Saturday night.
There you go. So the fight before that on this weekend's card is Sean O'Malley making a return against Thomas Almeida. O'Malley claiming to be putting his undefeated record on the line once again. Troll O'Malley for those I guess that don't get the joke. Sean O'Malley lost his last fight. He still mentally considers himself undefeated, so he calls himself undefeated on his Instagram. He's 13-0 instead of 12-1. Sean O'Malley is, I think he had the hype of almost like someone like Khamzat had last year. You know what I mean? Like he had a huge hype train following, and then there was an injury followed by USADA, issues. So he was out of the ring for about 2 years, I believe. Finally came back and, injured his foot again. Now, hopefully we're going to get no bullshit O'Malley. I think this guy is one of the best strikers in the division. He's a very entertaining fighter, but Thomas Almeida is not going to be an easy challenge for him this Saturday.
Almeida was a rising prospect himself way back when, until Cody Garbrandt derailed that train. It's not going to be easy, but I think O'Malley gets it done. I think he knocks him out. But also, it all depends on that foot. If that foot is still hurt, and because it's been giving him problems in multiple fights.
Yeah, which is I'm kind of surprised. Like, I don't want to call him fragile, but I think it was the same foot that got injured a couple of fights before that as well. I hope we're not going to see any accidents this time, but it's scary.
Yeah, but when he's good and he's winning fights, he's entertaining. It's good for the promotion. It's good for the fans. It's good for everybody involved.
I'm a fan of the Sugar Show, man. So like I said, he's coming.
What color is the hair gonna be?
It's a surprise. I don't know. We're gonna see.
They should make a prop bet on that.
They should start doing that for him because he does something crazy every event.
His girl's a hairstylist.
Yeah, so you got the hookup. So like I mentioned, O'Malley's coming in off of his first career loss. Almeida is coming on a 3-fight losing streak, actually. He's only 1-4 in his last 5 fights. But prior to that, he was undefeated at 21-0. Both of these guys are knockout artists, so I'm expecting to see a knockout. I think this finishes before a decision, and hopefully we see a nice KO in this fight.
Yeah, I'd say it finishes in the first round, I think. Very high pace first round.
Absolutely. I think this whole fight is going to be high pace and explosive. I mean, just the styles of both guys. I do think, though, that if Almeida wants to secure more of a, I guess, advantage in the octagon, I think he should try to go for that takedown. He is, I believe, a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I do think he's a little bit more well-rounded on the ground than O'Malley is. So I feel like if he wants to balance out the playing field, I feel like he should try to take O'Malley down to avoid getting knocked out and impose some of his BJJ and try to get a submission win possibly.
Yeah, that would be the right mindset, but he's not going to do it. He's going to get
Probably not. All right, so we're just going to, I guess, run through the rest of the fights on this weekend's card. Jillian Robertson is taking on Miranda Maverick. Jamie Malarkey is taking on Kama Worthy. And for the prelims, we have William Knight taking on Alfonso Manifield. Jessica Penne taking on Hannah Goldie. And this one I'm actually really excited for. Jared Gooden is taking on Abubakar Nurmagomedov. This is one of Khabib's cousins, has been training with him closely. They're practically brothers at this point. I think he's another one of these guys that is very flying under the radar, kind of was stuck behind the shadow of Khabib, similar to Islam. I'm very excited to see this guy compete this Saturday.
I personally disagree. I personally don't think he's as good as the rest of them. Islam, Umar, Usman, I think they're all levels above. I think Abubakar is a journeyman fighter. He, in his last 4 fights. He's 1, 2, and 1. 1 win, 2 losses, and a draw. And his last and that was 1 UFC loss, and I think the rest were in the PFL/WS. So I don't think he's on the same level as them, but that's okay. I mean, he's still a good fighter. It's just I don't think he's that elite level. Like I don't think we'll be seeing him fight for a championship in the UFC or anything like that. Like I think Islam is gonna be that guy at 155. I think his cousin Usman, who's in Bellator, is gonna be that guy in 155 in Bellator. And Umar, I think, is gonna fight in top 10 competition in the UFC at 135. But I don't think Bukar is there.
Honestly, I agree with you. You're not wrong. I mean, his striking, I guess, isn't quite there. His ground and pound isn't there. He's been training with that same team of all the guys you just mentioned. They're a pretty tight knit squad. So even just having that experience and that exposure training with those guys, I'm sure will put him levels above people in his division. But that is a very good point. I do agree he's not, I guess, the highest ranked of the Eagle squad, Eagle Academy. But
and he also caught a mean left from Conor McGregor on that cage.
Shit was bad. That shit was pretty bad. But yeah, he's fighting at welterweight. Islam's fighting at lightweight, so they are going to be in 2 different divisions. So we don't have to worry about them crossing paths yet. But I am excited to see him back, and hopefully he can get his career on the same trajectory as the rest of his team. He is 31, so I feel like he does need to start, getting his career in the right trajectory if he wants to get that UFC gold before he retires.
I think he'll be good. I just don't think he'll be elite, and that's okay. I mean, not everybody could be there.
So continuing through the prelims, we also have Modestas Bakuskas, I think is how you pronounce it, versus Michael Alekshuk. And then on the early prelims, we have Shane Young versus Omar Morales. And we also have Marc-Andre Barriault versus Abu Azaitar. This event is going to be the pay-per-view starts at 10 p.m. this Saturday. Guys, you want to tune in for this one. Prelims are going to be at 8 o'clock on ESPN+. This is a pretty exciting one. I think the co-main and the O'Malley fight are going to be the ones I'm most hyped for. So I'm going to be definitely sitting with a few beers next to the TV this weekend.
Kosher for Passover beers.
Oh crap! It's Passover, so we'll do the wine then. I can't do Passover liquor; it tastes disgusting.
For sure. Yeah, I'll make sure to catch the pay-per-view part after my Passover dinner. I got a quick shout out.
Sure.
So Adrian Yanez, who fought recently on this past weekend's card. They call him Masvidal Jr. That guy is to watch for. 135. He's coming for all the heads.
That was the guy that got that straight knockout, right? With the straight right.
Yes. Yeah, he got that knockout on Gustavo Lopez.
Yeah, that was a beautiful knockout.
He's a monster.
Started off the night great.
He's a monster. He's coming.
All right, with someone we're gonna keep an eye on. We'll reach out to him. Hopefully, we can get him on the next interview.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. We'll hit you up for that one. You can definitely be on the call for that one.
I'm down anytime.
All right, Pulat, thank you for joining us. And everybody, thank you for joining us for round 19 of Inside the Clinch. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our social medias. On Instagram, we are Inside the Clinch MMA. On Twitter, we are ITC MMA Podcast. And on Facebook and Instagram, we are Inside the Clinch MMA Podcast. Thank you, guys. Catch you next week.
Thank you for having me.